This video is in continuation to my previous video in which we discussed mean of data. In this video, we are going to discuss mean of grouped data. So let's just understand what is this grouped data. Suppose a test was conducted in a class and marks against number of students are given. Suppose marks are given to be 10, 20, 36, 40, 50, 56, 60, 70, 72, 80, 88, 92 and 95. So these are the marks out of 100 of a certain test, and number of students are given who are scoring these marks. So it's given that one student has scored 10 marks, one student has scored 20 marks, 3 students has scored 36 marks, 4 students has scored 40, and so on like this. 3, 2, 4, 4, 1, 1, 2, 3, 1. So if we find out the mean of this data according to the methods which we already know, it will become very difficult. It's a large data. You can see how many entries are there: 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10 11 12 13. So 13 entries are there. You have to multiply each fi with this xi, and there are 13 entries, and then you have to add and then divide. So it become very large data. So to compact this, that to make this data in a compact form, we use grouping. So we can group the data here. What we can do, we can make the group of the marks. So let's just take the group of marks like from 10 to 25. So in 10 to 25, only those students will come who are scoring between 10 to 25. 25 will not be included. So the students who are scoring between 10 to 25, you can see from here 10 to 25, only 2 students are here. So 2 will come here. Then I can take from 25 to 40. The length of each group should be same. Okay, so here I'm taking the length to be 15. Okay, so here 25 to 40 is also of length 15. So you can see from 25 to 40 how many students are coming. 3 from here, and 40 will not be included here, so only 3. So only 3 students are there in this group from 25 to 40. Then from 40 to 55, from 40 to 55 there will be 7. Then from 55 to 70, 55 to 70 it will be 6. Then from 70 to 85 it will be 6 again. And then from 85 to 100 there will be 6. So we have grouped the data. We instead of such large entries, so many large entries, we have taken small entries. We have grouped it, and the data is now in a compact form. It's now in a compact form. It's easy to find out the mean of this data according to the methods which we will learn in this video. We are going to learn the methods of finding out the mean of such type of data. Now, there are various methods to find out mean of group data. First one is the direct method. So, what we do in direct method, class intervals will be given. As we have discussed, class intervals will be the groups. Class intervals will be given. So in direct method, what we will do, will find out xi. And what will be xi? Xi will be the midpoint of each class interval, and frequency will be given. Obviously frequency will be given, and xi we will find out. Xi will be the midpoint of each class interval. And what we will do now, this is of the type which we have discussed in the previous video. This will become discrete data. So what we will do here, we will multiply each xi with fi. Okay, and now you already know the formula for the mean. Mean can be calculated by taking the sum xi fi divided by summation fi. So this is what we do in direct method. This is the first method to find out the mean of group data. The second method is assumed mean method. So it's another way to find out the mean of group data. Why this assumed method is useful? Because sometimes in direct method the calculation becomes very tough. The entries in the data are very large, the frequencies are very large, xi's are very large. So when you multiply them, when you multiply large entries, they become more large, and then you have to add them, so the calculation become tough. In that case, we use assumed mean method. So in assumed mean method, what we do, so class intervals are given. Okay, class intervals are given, we find out xi are the midpoint. Okay, frequencies will be given. In assumed mean method, what we do, we assume one mean from these xi's. We make our assumption, we assume that one of the entry is equal to our mean. Okay, and we name it as equal to a. We consider one of the xi as mean, uh, assumed mean, and we name it as a. Then we find out di. In assumed mean method, we find out di. And what is di equal to? Di is xi minus assumed mean. We find out di. Then after finding di, we find out fi into di. Fi into di for each entry. And after finding out fi into di, we use this formula for the mean, x bar equal to summation, just a second, it will be mean will be a plus summation fi di divided by summation fi. So this is the way of finding out mean using the assumed mean method. Then the third method which we have is step deviation method. So in step deviation, what we do, in step deviation, there's one extra step from assumed mean. In assumed mean, we find out di. In step deviation, we find out di dash. And di dash is xi minus a upon h. And what is h? H is the length of the interval. Okay, the length of the class intervals. And mean, the formula for the mean in step deviation method will be a plus h into summation fi di dash divided by summation fi. This is the formula for the step deviation method. We will discuss each method with the help of questions now. So let's start. Let's start with the first method, which is the direct method. So see this question. A survey was conducted by a group of students as a part of their environment awareness program, in which they collected the following data regarding the number of plants in house in a locality. Find the mean number of plants per house. So data is given, number of plants are given, and number of houses are given. So you can see this is a group data, and the entries here are very small. They are very small digits, 0 to 2, 2 to 4. Okay, and the frequencies also you can see 1, 2, 1, 5, 6, 2, 3. No frequency is greater than 10. So it's a small data having small entries. So we can use direct method. So let's do it. So this data we have. So what we have to do, class intervals are given, you have to make a table. Class intervals are given, then xi we have to find out. Xi will be the midpoint of the class interval, and fi is given. So let's just write down the class intervals: 0 to 2, 2 to 4, 4 to 6, 6 to 8, then 8 to 10, then 10 to 12, then 12 to 14. So xi will be the midpoint of these class intervals. So you can find out lower limit plus upper limit divided by 2. So 0 plus 2 divided by 2, it will be 1. Even you can see easily the midpoint of 0 and 2 is 1. So xi will be 1. Midpoint of 2 and 4 is 3. 4 and 6 it will be 5. Then here you'll get 7. Here 9. Here 11. And here 13. And fi are given. Fi are given to be 1, 2, 1, 5, 6, 2, 3. Now the next step, what you have to do in direct method, multiply xi with fi. So now just multiply xi with fi. So it's very easy. You'll get 1, 6, 5, 35, 54, 22 and 39. Now you have to take its sum. You can calculate the sum. It will come out to be 162. Okay, and sum of fi, it's already given. 20 plants are already given, so it will be 20. It's given in the question. So now just apply the formula. Summation fi xi divided by summation fi. So this is equal to 162 divided by 20, which is equal to 8.1. So these are the mean number of plants. So this question we did by direct method. We used direct method in this question because entries were very small. They were very small entries. Now let's do next question. Question number 2. You can see. So number of students, it's the same example with the help of which I explained you about the group data. So number of students are given and marks are given. You have to find out mean number of students using assumed mean method. So here you have to use the second method, assumed mean method. So again, what you have to do, make the class interval, make the table, write down the class intervals, and just a second, write down the class intervals, find out the midpoint of the class intervals, and write down the frequency. So class intervals are given to be 10 to 25, then 25 to 40, then 40 to 55, then 55 to 70, then 70 to 85, and 85 to 100. So you have to find out the midpoint of these class intervals. So you can see midpoint of 10 to 25. You can add 10 and 25. So which will be 35. 35 divided by 2, it will be 17.5. Similarly here, the midpoint will be 25 plus 40 divided by 2. So it is 32.5. Then you can find out it will be 47.5. Then it is 62.5. Then 77.5 and 92.5. So once we have calculated the xi, we will assume one of the number as the assumed. Let's just write down the frequencies also. 2, 3, 7, 6, 6, 6, because this frequency will help us to assume our assumed mean. So you can see the mid value here. There are two mid values. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 entries are there. The mid value are these two. These two are the two mid values. So you can either choose your assumed mean to be 47.5 or 62.5. But here you can see 47.5 is having a higher frequency. Okay, frequency of 47.5 is 7. So it's better to take your A. To be 47.5. So we'll take assumed mean A. We'll take assumed mean A to be 47.5. Alright. And now what you have to do in assumed mean method, find out DI. What is di? Di is xi minus a. So from each xi you have to subtract a. Alright, just subtract a from each xi. So here you can see what you will get. 17.5 minus 47.5, you'll get minus 30, then you will get minus 15, then you'll get 0, then 15, then 30 and 45. Okay, from each xi you subtract 47.5. Now you have to find out fi di. You multiply fi with this di. So here see what you will get. Minus 60, minus 45, then 0, 90, 0, 90, then 180, and here you will get 270. Okay, so this is fi di. Now find the sum of fi di. Just find the sum. This will come out to be 435, and find out this sum for some of the frequencies. This will come out to be 30. Now just apply the formula. X bar is equal to A plus summation fi di divided by summation fi. Okay, so this is equal to, what is A? A is 47.5 plus summation fi di. This sum is 435 divided by 30. So it is equal to 47.5 plus 435 divided by 30. It will be 14.5. 14.5. So your mean will come out to be 62. So 62 is the mean number of students. Now let's do next question. Question number 3. Consider the following distribution of daily wages of 15 workers of a factory. Find the mean daily wages of the workers of the factory by using an appropriate method. So here you can see daily wages and number of workers are given. As you can see, the data is very large. So it's better to use step deviation method here. So let's see how we can do this question. So write down the class intervals. So 500 to 520, 520 to 540, 540 to 560, 560 to 580, 580 to 600. So class intervals here we have written. Then find out the midpoint of these class intervals. So midpoint here you can see 510, 530. Then here it will be 550, then 570, then 590. And frequencies are given. So write down fi 12, 14, 8, 6 and 10. Now find out di. Firstly let's di will be xi minus a. Let's just assume one of the xi as assumed mean. So just take the midpoint a. Let's just take a to be 550. So find out di. So here 510 minus 550, it will be minus 40, then minus 20, then 0, then 20 and then 40. Now let's just find out di dash. Now what is this di dash? Di dash is xi minus a upon h. Di dash, I am naming it as di dash. In some books it's given to be ui also. Okay, so di dash, which is xi minus a upon h. And what is this h? H is the length of our class intervals. Here you can see the length is 20, right? So h is 20 here. So you can divide each entry here with 20. So you'll get -2, -1, 0, 1 and 2. So now you can see it's very easy to multiply Fi with Di dash. Okay, they are very small entries. So when you multiply, you get -24, -14, 0, 6 and 20. Find its sum. Sum will come out to be -12, and some of these Fi, it's already given in the question, 50 workers. So summation Fi is already given here, 50 workers. Now let's apply the formula of this. So A plus, the formula here is A plus H into summation Fi Di dash divided by summation Fi. So you have to be careful here with the formula. H will be multiplied with these terms. Okay. So in step deviation method, we multiply with H also. So 550 plus, what is H? H is 20, multiply by -12 divided by 50. So you can see here it is equal to 550. Here it will get cancelled, so it will be 24 divided by 5. So it's 4.8. So it's equal to 545.20. This is the answer. So this is the mean daily wages of the workers of a factory, and we have calculated it with the help of step deviation method, because the entries here, the frequencies were very large and the daily wages were also large numbers.